So do I read this first?
Seamless.
Yeah.
The views of the One Love podcast are not necessarily the views of the owners of Factory Street Studios. Viewer discretion is advised.
Amen.
Amen to that.
Thank you, Sean. Well, good evening and welcome again to the One Love podcast. I never know whether to
Hello?
look to camera for that bit.
Yeah,
or
I
just
just-
stare
yeah.
blankly into space.
Yeah, well, the screen with the delayed images of ourselves. It's
Well,
disconcerting business.
Good evening, everybody. Once again to the One Love podcast. This is episode 43.
Well, we need to discuss the naming procedure for the episodes because it's all,
This is the one with our
Sure.
good friend Sean Sigurdsson. Nice to see you, Sean. How you doing?
And you, D. Good to see you.
And you, mate. It's been a while.
It has.
So we could start with tell me about your life story, but first of all, let's just have a little look at what we've just been talking about. Anything from that last because we start talking half an hour before the podcast and like some really good stuff comes out and we keep
Forget it. For
No, I'll tell you how we're going to start.
Let's start with the beer. So what's
I'll
this?
have a beer.
This is Brooklyn Lager. Now
Excellent.
it's the one that I found when we played in the States. 3 beers jumped out while I was there.
When we went over?
Yeah. Brooklyn Lager, which isn't a lager at all. It's more like a really malty pale ale,
Right.
hoppy pale ale, and an actual pale ale, the Sierra Nevada, which is excellent, and Samuel Adams.
Sam Adams, yeah.
Now you can buy that in most supermarkets, the Samuel Adams, but like so many supposed imported beers, they're made by Shepherd's Neame, and they all just taste like Shepherd's Neame beer, which isn't bad, but it's not what it's supposed to be. So don't bother with the Sam
All
Adams
brewed at
unless
the
you're
same
in.
brewery.
Yeah,
Just a different
Global.
colouring
Yeah.
put in.
yeah. Don't bother about with the Sam Adams and Samuel Adams unless you happen to manage to get some that's actually been imported from America. It is very nice. So this one is Brooklyn Lager, highly recommended.
Lovely. While we're on the subject of that, I'm drinking. What am I drinking?
Salamander. Was it?
Salamander.
Salamander.
From the brewery right over the road. It's a great place. This is a pale. If anyone would like to taste.
Pale.
I'm good, thanks.
Salamander
I'm-
pale.
We'll try.
Well,
We'll spit it out of here.
I'm well versed with the salamander.
We've got it on
You like
pump at
Sam?
the in the bar at the moment. So
So come down and get wrecked.
yeah, there's also the
Cause a
mud lifter or whatever. They also had started doing some music nights over there, so that's worth checking out. I don't know anything about it other than I know that it's going on.
At Salamander Brewery.
Yeah, I think it might be Friday nights or something, like a little acoustic session.
right.
So that'd be a nice thing to go to if you're at a loose end.
Yeah.
Worth checking out.
Well, sorry, I
people.
forgot to say from while we're here from the control room. Sorry, my voice is going. That's not good for a podcast.
It's too many sweets.
Too many sweets, that's it. His throat's swelling.
From the control room at Factory Street Studios, 24-track tape, Cal Rec desk, massive array of top quality microphones, and the Croatian famous,
Well, it
infamous
came
by
from
now.
Croatia, yes, infamous. I've got a big reel on it, have you seen it? It's a 14-inch reel, it's a
I
monster.
know it is.
In order to record a half-hour song that we're recording with ultrasound, so that's...
Wow.
That's the
that's,
the half an hour song.
Yeah, if any of
who
our
knows how we're going to get it on vinyl, but it'll get there.
so we just chip it in half, like that in the podcast.
We're going to have to take 2 tapes and splice it together at the mastering house.
Wow. So yeah,
That's something else.
that's Ultrasound. Some people will be aware of
Yeah,
that
great
name.
band, absolutely
Awesome band.
fantastic.
Recording
They're doing their
a new
third album here, and it's an absolute pleasure to work with them. They're amazing musicians, like so many of the musicians I know, of course. I've known Richard for a long time, from playing bass in Crosscut Saw and the Somatics and
Somatics.
all sorts. Yeah, so
I'd just like to point out that Richard Green is the person that is most disassociated in real life from his stage persona.
Do you think that's the...
Yeah.
That's...
Because I mean,
He holds the praise.
hello Richard Green, if you're watching. Absolutely beautiful soul, dead gentle.
Yeah.
Not got a bad word to say about anything. Just a really, really nice dude.
Yeah.
One of
And
the
then
good ones.
when
Crosses
he's
the
on,
white line.
and then when he's on stage, he's an absolute animal, and he's unrecognisable as a person.
Yeah.
I know some of us. I used to do that when I first started playing in rock and blues bands. You go right. I'm stepping. I'm stepping over the. Well, that's natural, unfortunately.
The cum face.
But I would kind of step over the line onto the stage and go, right, this is my stage persona. I don't so much do it anymore. Yeah. But that is absolutely anything that with
Fantastic.
with Richard Green.
Yeah.
So I mean, the Somatics were a great band as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Go look some of that
And the
up on
Heavens,
YouTube.
the Heavens have got a gig coming up soon. Can't remember where or when again, but check out the Heavens. That's Richard's other band, and that's some great musicians in that as well. It's Jim and Dave and Mark, who are also all awesome.
So excuse me. I mean, I know I normally eat sweets when I'm here doing a podcast, but I've hardly had anything to eat. I've just had to drive back from Manchester.
Get in the bunk.
All my research has not been done either, but that's okay because I've known Sean
The research has taken many years.
Yeah.
10 years.
Probably 10 years, yeah.
How long
Maybe a
ago
bit
was
longer.
the album The Great
Great
Departure?
Departure was 2005.
Yeah.
So I reckon about 2004 then we must have met somewhere around that time.
Well,
Did we know?
That was the same occasion. It was the same sessions. You went and did some
That's
stuff.
right.
Did we go together even at one point?
No, we didn't.
But ran into Sean, was introduced to Sean.
Yeah.
Said, "Oh right, what do you do?" "I play guitar, I sing, play harp." I was like, "Oh, harp!
yeah.
I really like harp on my recordings." And it almost got to the point of turning up at the recording studio with a little harmonica and him expecting a big.
Oh, God.
Did someone with that genuine
Yeah. Some thought harp would really suit some of the music I was making at the time. Harp would be beautiful. And I thought, what sort of harp's he bringing? And of course he gets a harmonica out, but
Yeah,
Classic.
the harp.
Blues harp.
for a week in my life I was Enya. That was it, so.
I could have called it Mississippi Sax.
I actually think that we met in Paul Stepetic's studio. I don't think we met before that.
I think I may have met you
Oh,
once
yeah.
when you were in Horse, and you were playing Nigel's birthday party.
That's right. Okay, yeah.
That was it. That was the first time.
Yeah, and then it was just
Yeah,
so.
that's right.
Which is still, congratulations, the most harrowing album I've ever heard.
Yeah, that pretty sums it up.
Harrowing.
Yeah.
You always said you'd cry 2 songs in, wouldn't you?
If I got to the second song,
Right.
I mean, I'd kind of. It's one of those. It's one of those albums when that I would go in on a different track because normally you just
Yeah.
none of you young'uns will know this, but you used to have an album with
Of albums and the
12 to
journey.
14 tracks on it, and you'd put it in the CD player and press play, and then it just went through while you carried on what you were doing or sat and listened. So because it is so emotionally charged,
Yeah.
I know that I'd be in tears within 3-4 minutes. So I just play a different. I'd start a different track on the album. Listen to it.
No way to listen from start to finish before you're crippled by the emotional intensity.
Innit? I just absolutely just fucking melted into a blubbering mess, and then turn it off. So
I think that happened at the gig as well, which you came to. That happened at the gig. I could see you were crying at the back as well. So
yeah, I'm an emotional guy, but then again, so are you, of course.
Yeah.
And knowing the circumstances of that album, were and then hearing how the catharsis took place,
absolutely, yeah.
which is directly through that album.
Absolutely, yeah.
Then it is. I defy anybody to do that, to listen to that, knowing the backstory and just go, yeah, it's alright, or even, oh, that's a great piece of music. Or,
well, I think even not knowing the backstory from where I stand, I'm really proud of being a part of that, and that it's one of those great things that I've done in my life. But whenever I play it to people, they find it too much. It's too powerful, and that that sounds like an insult, but it's a compliment. Do you know what I mean?
That literally took sort of like when you're so immersed in something, even if you're looking at it, there was always redemptive qualities in any sort of vision I'd seen, but it was actually quite a challenging time for me, because then you were taking out a completely open heart, playing music and realising it was emotionally challenging a lot of people. And I used to actually feel I would want to make people feel better because we can share. But actually, what was happening? It was like inner child going, "Come on, let's all open up."
Yeah.
And people weren't always ready, and that was quite a tough hurdle for me as well, because it was like, let's just share. But it's like
I'm not sure whether that analysis. I don't know whether that analysis is quite right though. I don't think it's that people aren't ready for it. It's that it communicates to people's souls on a really base level, and people aren't used to showing their emotions.
Absolutely, yeah.
Do you want to go through that briefly? Because I mean, bless him, Paul Rufus. Well, welcome back, mate. Rufus. Well, he was ill last week. Oh, you were ill last time, so.
Okay, mate.
So Paul Rufus is thinking what they're
talking
about.
Okay.
So I mean, only if you want to.
No, absolutely. I mean, off the back of. It was very, without sort of getting into any sort of cryptic mystical ideas here, after 2004 making Flying Not Falling, which was an album I made, we had lots of strange incidents happening in the studio where Carl Stepetic was starting to bring garlic in because he thought something really odd and peculiar was going on. But it was our first child. It had taken us 5 years for my wife Lucy to get pregnant, and our first child... He had to come out at 7 months. He was thanksphoric dwarf. So she delivered Henry. And funnily, in that time of making that record, I was so overjoyed with this pregnancy, this feeling of this child was going to come into the world. And shortly after that, I'd sort of nursed my Uncle Rod, who brought me up. Because I was kind of like a ward of court, myself and my sister, when we were younger. So up until 5 years old, we used to flee from Scotland back to my gran's. My mum had a massive breakdown. My dad died 29. He had leukemia, so I was only 1 year old. My sister then was born just 2 weeks after my dad had died. My mum didn't bond with my sister at all, so those further years I just looked after my sister basically. When we came to England and eventually could live with my grandparents, I think from 6 years old, because I had the Scottish accent, up until I was 6.5. I remember talking like this in Halifax. All right, where are you from? I was right. And eventually it just went. I didn't want to keep that. But so eventually, Halifax sort of 6.5 up till 7, that's what I was kind of back in Halifax. And it was my grandparents and my Uncle Rod. And Rod was just, I've never been able to quite describe my relationship with Rod, because he was like he'd make you want to believe in God even if you didn't. Because he was so gentle and selfless, quite amazing man, but was reclusive. He was so oversensitive in lots of ways, and I really thank my lucky stars he was there, because I don't know what would have happened to myself and Sal. And I shared a bedroom with him, and all those years, and of course the last years of his life, I mean, he'd never sort of been involved in a relationship. He was in a band when he was younger, had the chance to go on Opportunity Knocks, and decided he wasn't a front man. He was everything that I kind of wasn't in that way of performance. You know, you're the front man, you never wanted any of it. He said, I'd rather be the drummer or the bass player. And he had that whole manner about him that used to amaze me. And because he brought me through so much, the last year of his life, the last 3 months of his life were really, really, really difficult. And when he died, it was rather immense, actually, some of the conversations we had, and as ever. But even though I was always able to express myself and talk about this stuff, I've always been prolific at creation, and I don't know where that comes from really. I always feel like a conduit. It feels like a channel. It doesn't really often feel like me, which I think all art is channeled. I think whoever do think it's like an accepted form of alchemy really. But at that point, I remember the songs just pouring out of me going home from the hospital, and then when he died, songs were just choosing me more than ever. So then, of course, this whole album, and in fact, the name of the album is called The Great Departure, but it was based on Siddhartha Gautama, who was the Buddha.
Yeah.
So The Great Departure, I almost read that and thought, this is what it feels like to me. It's another great departure of my own. And then the songs just came out, and the whole journey, I thought, I'm not going to deliberately write an album here about grief. I never had any intention, and every song just chose me, and every song just basically wrote itself. I think with the exception of 2 songs on there, every song was about that journey
Yeah.
with him in my life. So, and it's funny working through grief like that, and music can be so healing. But I was talking about it as much as playing it, so it was kind of like it was almost like double bubble, really. It was, but yeah, I mean, still listening back when I listen to certain songs on that record and think about all the analogies of his life at the end and all the ways that I'd been with him in his life. It was very. It was almost as if, like, I know it sounds a bit twee, but it was almost as if like he was literally communicating through me, and whatever, you know, maybe that was just my perception, but it literally felt like, wow, what are you doing? There's another song coming through me here. And so the album's laced with this sense of emotive kind of engagement and disengagement. And someone was taking that record out and playing it. And of course, after Flying Not Falling, after losing a son, I think people probably thought, you know, people became a bit weary of being around me, some people, because I think they thought that I'd gone through so much bad luck, as they called it. I don't particularly buy into that. I think people have all sorts of ranges of luck, but I think people were probably thinking being around me was like, oh, he's been through a lot. I don't want to know. But of course, as an artist, yeah, absolutely, it won't rub off, yeah. As an artist, it's been a hell of a journey, and I think that life has formed where this music just seems to emanate from, because as I say, it comes from that experience, and there's always been a need to express and connect, and maybe if life had been much more secure or not easy, but easier, maybe the art wouldn't have been anywhere near as... It was as heavy as a brick at times, that record, but in a real gentle way. And I just feel him throughout that record, and even when I put it on, I go, there's an atmosphere on there, and he's on it. He's kind of... There was a resonance in the studio, and he used to play, and that's another story, but it's very, very... I felt like I was in the middle of an X-Files movie when I was making that. So many strange things. And I thought either I need to see a shaman, or who's going to just... People would just say, you're mad. You are mad, because there were things happening where Lucy couldn't explain. I just kind of went with it and thought, oh, it's quite sweet. If there's someone out there looking out, then, you know, great, I'll just go with the process. And
with the amount of time I've with the amount of time I've spent with Debbie and all the things that have demonstrated to me, both through her and through the people in the organisations that she's involved with, I don't doubt that for a second. And I think there's a very specific feeling when there's a connection with something that you can't that can't be easily explained, rather than am I just thinking this? Am I just imagining this? There's a definite difference.
Absolutely.
I was just about packing up at the dry dock. I've just been painting the narrowboat the last few days. I kept seeing things, shadows. I've seen corners of my eye for the last 2 days. Now, the guy whose narrowboat I've been painting, Stuart Marsden, he's a lovely guy. I've a lot of time for him. He was a big, brash, Oldham roughneck. Big, you know, loud at everything, really charming, but straight down the line. You mentioned all like that, and he will take the piss.
Absolutely,
out. Not in any kind of hateful, you know. The only way he knows how to communicate is by you know by sort of taking the piss out of you.
Absolutely.
It's done with love. But anyway, the instructions are. I mean, you can believe all this or not, viewers. Really, you can. But I do believe it, because I've had the old spiritualist thing kind of not only I've seen the charlatans, I've seen the ones who are playing on things, and I've seen those that have nailed you down to the floor with dates, times, descriptions, and once that's happened to you a few times, when you know that only me and that person know about that, then you kind of, you know, I've accepted that, I believe it. So then he went off an hour early to do a job. He said, can you finish up and I'll see you tomorrow? I said, yeah, no problem. So he's gone, he's been away about 10 minutes. I see this shadow again. I went, all right, clear my mind, carry on painting. Who is it? Albert. And I've seen in my mind's eye this bloke in his old dungaree overalls.
Yeah.
Looked a bit like Fred Dibney, but not carrying as much weight, not quite as old. And his flat cap on and his thing, and it's all right. And then I worked on Narrows, and they're like, all right, you see, I'm not a painter like you, but you know, I've done a bit of painting. So mainly, what did he call it? We call it blacking. Tar. He said, I've tarred holes.
Okay.
So all right, yeah, nice one. And then he kept trying to say, he kept saying his second name, and I couldn't get it. It was like Tatler or Slater or something. I loved doing that, and then seeing if I can, see if I can have a look through some books and see if I can pick one. But anyway, so yeah, the idea of things in the studio. Martin Robinson's got exactly the same thing. He said he's had some strange occurrences happen down in his place. So middle at night, 4 a.m. Sometimes because Martin is who he is, and he'll have a project, and he's the only real true genius that I know in that kind of that kind of sense. And so he'll stay awake 36 hours and, for instance, write a Mad Magazine style audio play for his kids' Christmas present. You know what I mean? And so it's like it's 3-4 in the morning. He's sat in the studio. It's perfectly silent. There's only the things that have been connected up for the last 2 days. He's been in there awake. And so all of a sudden he hears in his monitor headphones really loud, like somebody behind him with a tuba. And absolutely unexplained.
Yeah.
And then or he'd be in the control room, and in the live room the Hammond organ would start playing. Not fancy, he said. Just
Fancy.
like a child was playing.
Yeah.
And then subsequently people have gone in, and there's a young girl there from when it was a mill apparently.
Yeah, it's mad that you brought that up, because I've never really experienced anything like that, but that one party we had at yours, I just got that all night.
Which one was that?
The last one, where there were only a few of us.
Oh, in Martin's.
Oh
yeah.
All night, I'm tapped in a sense, but for me it's very what's the word? It's not visual. It's through feeling.
More of a
feeling.
An empathic
sense.
That's
it. But all night at that studio, that's all I were getting, just corner of the eye, little kid running and that one. So it's funny you mention it.
Yeah, well, I mean, and sometimes, a lot of people don't realise, everybody's got the ability to do to do what the top mediums do. It's whether you can harness it, practice it more than anything. But even, it would explain to me when I first sort of started being interested in stuff is, you walk into a room, there are 5 people there. One you don't want anything to do with after nobody's said a word. You can walk around, you can see people talking to each other, and you go, I don't like the feel of that.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's always the instinct we're following.
Well, instinct, isn't it?
You learn to your cost over the years, don't you? That when you don't listen to that.
Of course. Absolutely. Yeah. There's a reason they said trust your gut as well, because it's one of your.
Well, that's what you feel.
The non-local intelligence, isn't it, as well, which is almost. That voice always knows far better than you do.
Yeah.
So when you do go against it, you're going against something that's intrinsically, hang on, what am I doing here? You're going, but then because we use the intellect and we try and work out, we're educated a certain way, that then we kind of do think, or maybe I'm just being irrational. And there's so many instances in life where you can look at the kooky and the weird and the wild, and it intrigues me, this, actually, even in terms of a lot of science. In fact, there was some basis. Is it Sheldrake, the top scientist, Rupert Sheldrake? Because I have a friend, Damien, and Damien's very much, as he said, on one half of him, his dad was a very scientific, very logical, clever man. He was an art lecturer at UCL. his mother was a very spiritual woman, very, and Damien said, I'm right in the middle. So I either believe or I'm convinced, and any story. And he'd seen this amazing DVD and he got me this footage and he said, look, you know me, I'm open to anything. I'm not going to say it is or it isn't, but I'm saying to you on this, you watch this Sheldrake. It was an experiment they did in Derbyshire.
Yeah.
And the stuff they'd found with scientists in the room, they held all the camera films together. So nothing was even opened. These scientists were absolutely blown away because they took the films to be developed, the stuff they'd found. And Damien's words after it were like, why is that not public knowledge? Why was that not investigated further? Why can something so mind-blowing happen like that? Mm-hmm. And we're still questioning. And I don't mean whether ghosts are real or not. I'm just saying the fact that there are enough incidents that happen the world over that are almost filtered out to make us still believe that we are in control rather than...
Yeah, that's the most human thing about, isn't it? To be in control, we are the top, we are the top of the picture.
I was thinking about Terry Pratchett, the book about the small people, truckers or wings or whatever they are. And the theory behind that was that most people wouldn't be able to see them just because they couldn't intellectualize the fact that there was
an
inch high person. And so you simply look at it and go, no, that can't exist, so therefore...
Absolutely.
That's
how we live our lives.
That's true.
It's possibly the art imitating the life of... it was said that a lot of the... was it the Incas? Who were before the Incas? Olmecs. Never saw the Spanish Armada coming over the horizon because they'd never seen ships before. They'd never seen ships.
Assumed they were a vision.
Exactly, Well, it's alright, they're not there.
It's interesting, isn't it? I just think it's that way that you think about a place like New Orleans and you think about the movies you grow up on and you think about the magical stories and you think, are they just movies or there's so much more to it? And I'm sort of willing to say there's certain things you intrinsically feel or instinctively feel that you can't explain, and it's that feeling. But I have a friend as well, Dom, a good friend who will kind of laugh at me and go, this is just bollocks. And I'll go, you know what, maybe some of us have an antennae. Maybe I can't give you my experience and vice versa, you can't give me yours.
I think there's a lot to be said for different people justifying the way they interpret such a thing. Because I mean, like you're talking about walking into a room and it being there being 4 people in there and one person you just get the bad vibe off. I think you can easily rationalise that by going, well, okay, ever since we've crawled out the sea, we've been training ourselves even on an evolutionary level to spot a predator, spot somebody who's bad for you, spot the people who are going to take the shit from you, you know, and on those are instincts that we have just as animals, you know, and I think there, you know, I don't disagree that there's other stuff, and you know, I could, I can get on board with that from some of my own experiences. But there's also what an amazingly complex and sensitive, perceptive being we are. I think it's very similar to talking about audio recording and tape, and there's a lot of argument about whether digital versus tape and so on, and I think there's a lot of that to be said, that the sort of...
Can I just point out, vinyl DJs, that the arguments between digital and tape, not between digital and vinyl.
Yeah, vinyl's great, digital's great, tape's great, but I think that there's certain things that get lost, and we've been told on Nyquist Shannon theory that you can't hear anything outside of certain bandwidth, so we'll just cut that off and get rid of it.
Which is completely untrue.
There's hearing it and there's perceiving it, isn't there? And I don't think that your perception is limited to your hearing, and if that's in with something else, gives you...
Yeah, outside it's basically the electromagnetic band, isn't it? Our eyesight is only a small section of the perceived light, and then outside of that we've got rays, microwaves, gamma rays. Yeah.
And some of those perceive us in extraordinary ways, like microwave. Microwave. You can manipulate that. You can obviously destroy you, can't it? So then, if it can have that effect, then what do the other things that we're not capturing digital recording?
Indeed.
What effects do those have on us?
Just while it's in my mind, Martin Robinson again did a little experiment, and he said, Can I just put this vinyl versus digital argument to bed for you, please? Because again, you know, kind of. Well, yeah, but there's, you know, as is, you know, I'm pointing out the advantage. He said the only argument there is an argument for vinyl against MP3s, even at the highest bit rate, because there are obviously more virtual bits in an analog signal. He said, but I want you to listen to this. And he played me 2 recordings, and I can't remember who it was. It might have been someone like Future Sounds of London or something like that. And he said, right, listen to this recording. And it's on a vinyl album. And he played it back and said, yeah, it sounds beautiful. He said, right. He says, we've just recorded that album into our computer. And they weren't, you know, they're, the
Decent converters.
RME Fireface.
RME, yeah.
So there, I mean, you know, there were sort of high end,
Decent.
sort of high end budget.
Yeah.
So they're about £1,000 each.
Right.
Not fortunes for the studio by any stretch. So he'd recorded it in at 192,000 hertz, which, you know, is the highest resolution that a digital
Which increases the bandwidth.
increases the bandwidth. He played it back and I wept. The detail that wasn't apparent on the actual vinyl plate was just absolutely
How
astonishing.
can that work? Because it's the
I don't
original
know.
source is...
I don't know, but give it a go. You'll
I
be stunned.
definitely, you know, in terms of, I love tape. I think it works great. I don't, you know, and many of the reasons why I love using tape are to do with workflow. They're to do with the sound that it adds to it. They're to do with the lack of fatigue from not having to look at screens. It's to do with, you know, there's lots of the commitment you have to make to your music. There's lots and lots of good reasons for using tape, and they're enough for me. And I will definitely say, if I've done exactly the same thing, I can stick a vinyl on, I can listen to it direct, and I can flick a switch and listen to it through converters, and I can't tell the difference because the conversion is that good. But if I spend all day listening to that, then I'll be more tired than if I didn't put it through the digital conversion. And if I listen to things subconsciously, so I would never sit and listen to mixes of stuff that I've done digitally. I'll always be like, all right, okay, I've heard enough of that. I don't need to hear what I've worked on again. You know,
there's no doubt that fatigue occurs.
It's very hard, but
in the digital domain.
Sometimes you end up in a situation like if I record a track on a tape, and then I'll play off I have a master reel that I use for doing mixes onto, and every now and then I'll end up having to rewind it to the beginning and play it off, and so I'll stick it on and start listening to it, and I'll end up sitting down, not doing anything, absorbed in it. But if I put on a random playlist of mixes I'd done from the digital system, it just wouldn't happen. I wouldn't end up sitting down listening to it, and that's like what's it taken from that?
I wouldn't disagree with any of that.
It's very, you know,
there was something even just with cassette tapes. Back in the day.
Oh yeah, I've got a cassette that sounds way better than the remaster of a digital album that I've got, and even with print through and all sorts, you know. It's just
and actually the separates, the tape deck separates, the good ones, the ones that have shone out through the decades, are still fetching a lot of money.
Well, Studer 710 or whatever it is, I've always fancied one of those. Not that I would ever use it. I've got a decent enough tape deck, and when a client comes in with a tape, I want to get that off. Okay,
that's interesting, isn't it? Do you on that theory? Do you have anything on that theory of it's open to loads of discussion and debate? This idea of the 440 hertz versus 432 and 528, and I've tried tuning my guitar around.
There are two different issues there. Yeah. One is that I believe it was 51, but historians correct me if I'm wrong. I think it was 51, 53. The International Standards Committee changed the pitch standard of music well, it created a standard because
Yeah.
there wasn't one before that.
Yeah.
To 440 hertz.
Yeah.
And so there's a really long backstory again. Martin Robinson doing an experiment.
Oh, right.
He had a dyspraxic guy who he
Right.
would teach every week. Saw sound.
Okay.
And he always said, "Oh, your control room's not right." And he said, you know, and Martin being Martin's going, I don't get it. I've spent a year designing and building this.
Yeah.
It's you know. Well, I tell him it's perfect. He
Yeah.
said, "Well, nothing's perfect, but
Yeah.
and it's a beautiful sounding mastering suite."
Yeah. Yeah.
But these guys, no, it's all like that. And so he looked into it, did Martin, found out about 432, used the master tuner on Logic to take it down. He said the closest you can get it is 431.9999999.
Okay.
And he said, I played the same piece of music that I always play when he walks in. He walked in and just went, what have you done? Everything's sharp.
Wow.
And he said, you know, well, almost. He said, you know, it's that point, no, one that I couldn't get it quite.
Right.
And so I think the theory is that it resonates with you, with not only your body cavities, the 432.
Your spinal column, isn't it?
That's right. And so... So sorry, that's that
everybody
one.
have like different sized spinal columns, don't you think?
Yeah, well, I thought, yeah.
There is science behind it, but I don't know it. Right. But then the other one is the sacred tones, of which 5 to 8 is one.
Absolutely,
Yeah, and those correlate with the.
I thought it was
chakras.
interesting. I had one track done, a single, just a mastering friend I have in Nottingham who said, I'll do it for fun. And he played the version of the one track I had, which was 440, and it pumps and it's got this real energy. And the 432 was same track, but it was like, it had a completely different impact. It didn't have as much of an edge, it didn't have as much energy, strangely. But I thought it was quite interesting that some people's theories on, because then that makes that, again, that's opening another can of worms going. If we're all been playing an A440, and they say it increases excitement, but also fear and egoic separation, you're kind of going, oh, is that another... I mean,
tension.
Yeah, you don't know, but it does make some sort of sense. I listen to a lot of things in, you know, the solfeggio ranges and all these things. When certain music seems to resonate, is that? I don't know. I mean, obviously, it's something.
Well, I mean, tuning on a guitar. If you actually put a guitar perfectly in tune, it doesn't sound right. So you need everything to be slightly out of tune. So surely you're spanning the range.
Yeah.
When you play an instrument that's even tempered.
Well, I discovered that there were a lot.
Yeah,
that there are actually a load of, we know this, a lot of tuning systems.
For guitar.
Just for music.
Oh, yeah. You can adjust skew the frets and stuff like that. To
well,
make
like
it so
in chords where there's a different tuning on the third and the fifth, and the chords feel and sound really different. You can do it on Logic if anybody's got it.
Yeah.
There's a section in there where you change the actual temperance of the notes between themselves, and the 432 one was a really interesting one because he said, I'm going to play this music, and they said it was in 440, recorded it in, and they said, right, we're going to detune this to 432, listen back to it. So he detuned it to 432, played it back, and it didn't sound that different. It was like, it's a little bit. But he said, right then. But now we're going to play the original one again at 440, and it's like, it is when you go back to, it's like going back to the 440. It's a really strange experience.
I'm intrigued by that because I don't really know enough about it, but I was just, again, quite sort of, it's just, again, like another can of worms. You go, wow, is that,
Right, well, look, one of the most striking things that I know about you is that you were offered a deal by Sony BMG, and at the same time, you were looking after your grandma.
No, that's slightly different. My gran came after, and along with my uncle, their deaths happened between each other. I stopped touring. I stopped gigging to look after.
That's right. Sorry, yeah.
Yeah.
It's the same thing.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
not the,
yeah.
So yeah, you were well in your way then, let's say, or you had,
It was doing well. Yeah, yes.
and then you pulled out of that race and that push to look after your grandma who was very ill.
Yeah. And I suppose there was a lot of time as well invested in. Well, it was only a month with my Uncle Rod, but it was really strange how it sort of hit me. It was like a lightning bolt, as if, because being that kid that was torn between my mum who couldn't really communicate with me, and bless my mum, I always say to my son still to this day, he said, "You ever blame your mum?" I said, "No, she was very, very sick. My dad had died." So if my granddad had stepped in, I don't know what would have happened to me personally. You know, funnily when I've done prison sector gigs and secure unit gigs, mental health, I often look at the people in there, and it's never ever, I've never had that sense in my life of, thank God I'm not them, or I'm better than them, or I've never had that. I've always thought, and I know it's an old cliche of saying, "There go I, but for the grace of God," but it was almost as if like, what would have occurred to me without my gran, and what would have occurred, who'd have stepped in? My mum would have tried her best, but she, bless her, even when I spoke to her over the years, for 3 years, I said I never saw her smile. I never ever saw her smile. And my sister would cry endlessly. I remember living in Elgin, she would just cry all night, which seems like maybe I was looking after her. She was a year younger than me, so I think from 3 years old I was basically looking after my sister, and we used to be sent to a room at the top of the house, and my mum would let us come down for a chocolate bar, I think, at night, you know, but she didn't know how to communicate. She'd lost all senses of, there was no empathy, it seemed, and I don't blame her for that. She was just where she was. She had nothing to give.
And where was she? What do you think were the
Well,
driving forces behind how your mum was?
Well, one was, I mean, she was only 19 years old when she had me. My dad had just died, so he'd had a leukemia, and it all happened within 6 months. She'd lost her husband, obviously. She was pregnant with my sister, just about to drop. I was 1. Apparently she just fell apart. In fact, she even got into a real mess before Sally was born. In those 2 weeks, I think she felt she had to connect with my dad. So apparently she started the whole Ouija board thing. Apparently it drove her over. Yeah, she fell downstairs and started hearing voices and all the rest. And she ended up actually in Stolz Hall for a short time, which then was a, what they call asylum or institution. And for years she never came to terms with it. And even when she remarried, I used to go up to Scotland to see her. I could still see there was a lot. My mum came through so much, but she was just broken, really, and said often to me over the latter years that even with the 2 children she had when she remarried again, stepdad Frank, because I was up there for a while, then he wanted to adopt me and give me his name. In fact, he gave me the name because his name's Frank Bourne. Well, of course, one of the most cruel things that I did at school was Sean Bourne. Sean Bourne, the leprechaun, goes to bed with his trousers on, trousers off. Sean Bourne, oh, it was terrible, yeah, that was one of the cruelest things I remember. I can't take your name because it just rhymes,
Yeah, kids are great at that.
Oh, brilliant, aren't they?
Can I ask you though, because my father had two stints in an asylum.
Okay.
Culminating in electric shock therapy.
That's what she had as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know she had ECT, was it?
Which apparently my mum, I was speaking to my mum the other week, and she said, "Oh, he sorted him out, he was fine when he got home." I thought, Christ, I think I'd have acted fucking normal if somebody had 10,000 bottles through mine. I'm fine now.
Yeah,
yes, how are you doing?
It's good.
Very
It's
good.
okay. Don't shock me again.
Yeah, but I see now. I knew my dad, and right through. I mean, there were an unfortunate experience where before my mum and dad divorced, that I precipitated. But beyond that, I mean, that was the closest we ever got when I threatened to stab him.
Yeah.
That's how bad our relationship. Well, it was bad,
Yeah.
but it wasn't deliberately bad.
Yeah, yeah.
And my dad was in front of me most of my life, and I could never get in. I could never get to know who he was as a person.
Absolutely.
Because of all the. I think you were constantly on lithium.
Yeah.
After that, and I just never got to know who he was. Did you feel like that was a
Absolutely. Well, absolutely. And we were just talking earlier, weren't we, about society's conditioning, nurture and nature, and people being able to open up. And I think ever since from a very everything's about advertising.
Goose Island.
Goose Island, India Pale Ale.
Sponsored by Goose Island. Thank you. Yeah, and I think she was lost behind that. And then in turn, talk about energy. You're embracing part of her energy. The sadness of that. And then I think ever from that real young age, it was almost like circulating that whole thing round was this idea of inner child healing. Because I still see myself on that train station, which was the most, you know, when you ever try and you close your eyes and you go back. Is there anything causing me problems still as an adult to this day? And it's that feeling of complete disempowerment and lack of control. And my sister's screaming because my gran used to come up and she was so full of energy, my gran. You know, she had this lovely, come on, darling, come to me. You know, it was always like, oh, she's great. She's the love of wow, look at this woman. Smiling, happy, beaming. She'd do anything for me and Sally. And my mum didn't know how to tell us she'd be leaving after a couple of days or whatever, but this one day she decided she'd take us to the train station with her. And I remember, I think it was Aberdeen train station. And I've just got my hands in my pockets because I can't cry in front of Sally because Sal's falling apart. And Sally is absolutely screaming. And I've just got my hands in my pockets and my legs won't move. And my gran's on the train and they're all waving. And Sally's screaming, I'm going, I just couldn't speak, please don't go. And I wonder if that trauma from a young age, I held that. I think I held that forever actually. And in a sense of when we react with adults or any situation when we're not recognised or someone had come to help us or support us, I'm kind of looking going, I feel unsupported. And is that replaying? Something's replaying there. And strangely for my relationship with my gran, my mum and my Uncle Rod and the rest of my family, but it was almost like I became the mediator and took on the role of I'll help people deal with this, like my sister's grief. Yeah. Often leave my own grief till last. And in a strange sense, I think that when my gran was dying, and Rod, it was as if like music's important and it comes from the highest source to me, but they were far more important to me because it was like they would inspire my music. They were the reason I made music. You know, people that you love are the reason you make music or something. In so I could never quantify what success was. So in a sense, I just thought, no, I need to be here now. She was there for me. I need to be here now. And it wasn't any sense of guilt that I should. I remember I was a voice print at the time and he was saying, what do you want to do? I said, I've got to take my foot off the gas. And in some ways I blamed myself for that. My self-talk was quite poor, that I put my career back in the gutter almost as if I had to restart again. But I wouldn't have changed what I'd done because I felt it was more vital to do that than if I'd gone for 3 months, she's dead, and I kind of go, well, the tour went well. It didn't quantify to me, and yet I suppose if I could have it on both hands, it would have been, can I work the gig dates around where I feel the strength to do that? And again, we live in a very organised business model that says, no, it's one or the other. Yeah. I mean, Robert Voiceprint was very supportive at the time, take the time you need. But I said, I'm good at doing this. I may be bad at doing this as well because I'm good at always applying myself, and I think it's things I've lost in some ways. I overcompensate. I do it with Harry, I do it with my own son. I think because I had nobody there really, I overcompensate in being there so much that I actually didn't even achieve the balance of saying, Harry, your dad will be gone for a week. A week? Can't leave him for a week. Yeah. So I became the classic wounded healer really.
Well, just know that regardless, you love your child, and that's absolutely all you need to know. Absolutely. Because I know that I did everything and made sure that I did everything with my kids and my kids.
Yeah, absolutely.
That I didn't do, that my dad never did with us.
Absolutely.
And it wasn't his fault, but I've just made sure that when I'm just going to say Jake because Connor knows I love her, but it's not the same thing. That Jake knows that in exactly the same position that I was looking at my dad, that he knows he was loved, and he knows that I did everything I could for him. Yeah. But the thing is, then I was questioning, and not long ago, but I've gone too far. I've overcompensated, is what you're saying, for the things that I felt that I didn't get. Yeah. But at the end of the day, I mean, he's a legend, you know, and so I might have done some things wrong. And let's face it, as parents,
how can you be a parent without doing things wrong? How can you be a person without?
There's no practice, mate, is there? There's no practice in being a parent. All of a sudden, you've got this person in your hands, and you're like, fuck.
It's the most
what do I
amazing.
do now? You know,
Yeah,
things happen and you've got to
absolutely.
make decisions.
Absolutely.
Sometimes the long drawn out decisions that change according to what's going on over a few months or a year or 2 years. Others, you know, you get a phone call and you can go, right, well, I've got to make this decision. I remember having to speak to Jake about, and it wasn't too long ago, I think it might have actually sort of stuck in there and turned him into the person he is now, where he just won't take any shit off people, where he was constantly bullied as a kid.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I remember having to sit down with him and say, you know when somebody hits you outside and I don't jump in the van and say, get in son, we'll go and find them and kick their heads in, like you hear all these heroic dads doing. I had to say to him, listen Jay, the reason that I don't do that is because if I do that, I am creating more negativity.
Absolutely.
And I am becoming a worse person.
A reflection
for that.
of them as well, actually. Sense.
Yeah, and it's like it's like they've dragged you down to their level. All right, let's go and chin them, then.
That's right.
And he understood. I don't ever think he understood as a kid, and I didn't ever think that it would help trying to explain it to him right in the midst of him just getting bullied all the time and saying, look, I can't do anything.
That's right.
It's really hard, isn't it? And I think there's always a certain amount of pecking order discovery, isn't there? And you need to go through that, and the pecking order gets challenged, and it's the same in any group of people. Then there's everybody works out their dynamic, don't they? And when you're kids, some of that involves physical bullying, some of it involves psychological bullying, and some of it involves learning how to overcome that and being actually realising that other people don't have that sort of level of power over you.
I think he was actually, you know, really rock bottom for a good year. You know what I mean? And the thing is, this is another thing another thing talking about those things that you can't see but you can certainly feel. When you're bullied and you have accepted yourself as a victim, which is through no fault of your own, you walk around with fucking red magic marker on your forehead that says victim.
That's right. Yeah.
And then the bullies are walking around with fucking bully across their forehead. They just go, he'll do. Because he's not standing up straight, he's not looking me in the eye with no expression whatsoever. And that's, you know, and then this is how I dealt. I tried to deal with his bullying. Is to try to say, don't look like a victim, mate. And it sounds like such a soft twat thing for your dad, who can bang if he wants to. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's such a soft twat thing to say from a 12-year-old's point of view.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But I mean, he's grown up and through that now, and he understands. You stand up, you'll look people in the eye if you're not happy with what you're doing.
Yeah.
Some roidhead, he said, outside Halfords, had just started on him for no reason.
Yeah.
He says, you know, full grown man, about 15 stone, muscles and that, with his wife and a pram. When he said it was just Jake did something, tripped or something.
Yeah.
Or I don't even know, I can't remember the backstory, but this kid's sort of laughing, and he thought, oh, that's fun. You know, it must be funny to him. I'll laugh with him.
Yeah.
So Jake started laughing. He said, "What the fuck are you laughing at?"
Yeah.
And he said, "Well, I just thought, you know, I don't know. Well, you better fucking watch it." He says, and he's stepping towards me. So at the end, he said, "I've just reached in, got a can of Ammonite out." I'm going, "You better fucking stand back, mate, because this is going in your face." And now that's I'm proud of him, mate.
Yeah.
For doing that, and he never.
It's that learning that process of standing up to yourself, and some people never really get the hang of it, and some people are very good at it, and some people are very good at exploiting it and dominating others when they shouldn't be. And you know, I mean, that's it's a tough process, and it comes back to us being complicated animals, complicated monkeys, aren't we? You know, these are all base things.
Yeah.
Deep things.
Between the sort of primal brain, and then that. In fact, I think there was a great quote sort of the week about what you're here on this planet to do, because if there is this idea that we are energy, we're in a physical body, you're here to experience limitation. And I love that. I thought, you're here to experience limitation of feeling pissed off, of feeling aggrieved, of feeling all those things you feel as a human being, which that part of it is human, the other side of you is being. So if being was the source that we are, which doesn't care about the polarity. It's somewhere beneath. And the human is the thing that's struggling with all these aspersions and difficulties and challenges of people. And I often find that really fascinating in terms of when you do carry that energy, and I've done it myself, and I could play Whiter Than White here and say, I've seen that sort of passive-aggressive behaviour in some musicians and artists I've worked with. And then I've thought about myself.
Really?
Yeah.
not looking at anyone.
But do you ever think? And I have actually.
Sorry.
No, sorry.
See, what did I say?
That's just a message.
A joyous disagreement. Fuck off! Yeah, it's but that thing that was often said: if you're carrying fear or dis-ease within you, suddenly there may have been an issue with that band or whatever. They've been a bit odd with you. But it's because sometimes it's the energy you're carrying as well, and together it creates this symbiosis of. And I've had that.
Oh, it's that changeover between bands.
It's dreadful.
I don't think that's what I meant, but nice one.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
No, you're right.
Yeah,
No,
I've
absolutely.
nearly come to blows at that
And
point.
those kind of those
Not proud of it, but-
that jaggedy space in between two
Yeah.
musicians, one's really
Setting up
slow and
with
backing
one's-
down.
Yeah.
One's just had a kind of, and the other one's got,
Yeah, it's almost tribal that I will look him. He's not part of my tribe, and it's really strange because there were times that used to really frustrate me and thinking, music, it should be. You know, I had this idea in my head that music is love and it's sharing, and making that wrong analogy that anyone who makes beautiful music must be beautiful. You know, you look at Wagner's history and things. So I kind of was going, I was getting really confused at this point. And funnily, talk about bullying, that's how I felt. At times for years being fed nice. Confirmation.
that's so close.
Rhubarb and custard. Oh, I can't take
I
the
think
tin.
I could take the injury if I attempt that.
And that idea that what is it you're carrying? So something, and if it is bad self-talk, so you're trying to find this place within yourself that's peace and contentment, in lots of ways you find it, and then there's a part of it that goes, should you have done all of that? And then you can beat yourself up because look at the polarity the world creates for us in terms of what is the successful model and the reality of money and making money. And if I'd done a bit
of success,
absolutely. And then if I'd have been a bit harder with that, why am I so, and then actually other people that may be in that similar place didn't happen for us because, and then everyone's carrying around this energy of hasn't quite happened and it should have, but it hasn't. And you look at yourself in the mirror and go, yeah, whilst I'm not outwardly aggressive with anyone, there was a feeling within me at times of, should I have been a bit harder there? Should I have been a bit more hard-nosed? I was wondering about the language I was using because, again, we live in a very egoic model. And
I think you were pretty hard-nosed. I think you talked yourself into being hard-nosed.
Absolutely.
When the few times, I remember Debbie saying to, I said, you've got to meet Sean Hunter. She said, I did once, I tried to speak to him, I said, if I played an instrument, I said no, and he walked away.
Was it right?
Yeah, and no, I remember, I think when we were in the last house and you came over, you were talking about that, and you kind of gone, I am so sorry. Did I?
How on earth did I?
But that's the thing, because I think you've gone through this process of going, I've thrown all that away, how do I get that back? And then, unfortunately, we are the sum of the 5 to 10 people that we're around the most.
Yes, yeah.
And I went down that unfortunate kind of avenue for a while, just going, all right, well, I'll do that. But I think when you realise, actually, it really doesn't matter.
Absolutely. No,
do you know what I mean? Because what you're doing, if you do it this way, is if you don't get where you want, where you're aiming from, you've just picked up a lot of beautiful friends. We've all got that same appreciation for each other and their efforts and the struggles and the friendships and that's success to me. Well, I've shifted my perception of success.
Well, absolutely, because the thing was, I always craved authenticity, and whichever way it came, I didn't. In fact, there was such a candid association with like the prison gigs and things. So if it was a difficult guy, I loved it because it was almost like he's so fucking honest, and I always wanted pure. Give me authentic honesty, even if you've hated what I've done. Yeah. That's fine. Let's shake hands. We're grown men. We'll be dead. 300 years.
That's the, for me, that's the definition of creating successful art, is that people either love it or hate it. It's when people go, meh.
Yeah.
That's when
That's nice.
That's when you fucked up.
That's right.
So, on that note, it's about time we had a break, and we're going to come back for you next week. We'll see you over there. See you then.
Thank you very much, Alex.
Let's have a bit of Sean's music.
He's on the ball, isn't he, Alex? We've only done,
He's really
we've only done this 3 podcasts, isn't he?
That's right, yeah. All organised.
Get some sweets. He's not playing like Eat all that.
So far away, falling asleep, I hear your heart slowly it beats. Not for tomorrow, just give me today. A man without reason, there's nothing to say. 'Cause you give me love, you give me shelter. Poisonous thorn, branch of a tree, a birth and a death, one of each just for me. Not without shadows, the dream fades to black, but I know that the light is the sun coming back. 'Cause you give me love, you give me shelter, and you give me hope. You give me shelter. So no one is to blame when we turn on ourselves like history books upon a burning shelf. The future is benign and the past is gone. The bitterest spell that sits upon my tongue. Wish I could find the room in my head to open my heart to the things that you said. Occupied sign, I've been here before, as the ghosts of the past still knock at my door. Looking for peace, flirting with trust. Try to find reason when something's unjust. Searching for you, stopping at me. All that I am, all I should be. 'Cause you give me love, you give me shelter. Give me shelter.